Hey guys, PayDroV here. Now, this will be an important video, something many are not talking about, but maybe some are. And I wanted to shine light on this as well. Now, as we are fighting to survive and exposing these agendas coming together, we aren't just doing it for us, but for the voices who aren't heard, and a majority of those are children. You've seen the hashtags, Save Our Children, and we aren't going to make this political left or right. None of that. Because they're after the innocents, the children, and the rest of us. Because from the depopulation agenda, there is a spiritual warfare. There's a lot of stuff that's happening all around the world. And here we're going to shine some light on the exploitation, trafficking, and everything else into that aspect of things.
I want to go right now to Joel Villarreal. He's the Rio Grande City, Texas mayor, kind enough to join us. Mayor, one of the things I've always enjoyed about talking to you, a Democrat, I mean, you are not trying to play party politics with this. You're concerned about what Texas is dealing with, and maybe a little surprised that there are those in other cities and states who are just coming to discover that. What do you think of this back and forth on all of it?
And yet Hispanics are being utilized as political pawns and paraded in a dog and pony show that unfortunately is there for the rest of the world to bear witness. And for what purpose? Supposedly to highlight our broken immigration system. Americans are fully aware that we have a broken immigration system, and we've had this for over 30 years, several decades. Unfortunately, we lack leaders on both parties.
So a lot of people are talking about the southern border in the US and how there's people coming up missing, found dead, possibly murdered, even killings that look ritualistic.
Governor Greg Abbott announced the death of a Texas National Guard soldier today. The governor said the soldier died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in Eagle Pass.
The soldier, whose name is being withheld pending family notification, had been working with Operation Lone Star on the border. KXAN's Nabil Ramadna joins us from the newsroom to look back at the deaths linked to this operation.
Well, Texas Rangers are investigating the death, and the Texas National Guard and Texas Department of Public Safety are coordinating with local law enforcement. And Abbott's office said military service members and veterans can get mental health help through the Texas Military Department website and the Texas Health and Human Services site. The Texas Tribune, along with the Military Times, reported the soldier was assigned to Operation Lone Star. The governor launched the border security initiative in March 2021. The Texas Tribune reported this would be the first suspected suicide linked to the Operation Lone Star since December 2021. It's the 10th known Texas Guard member linked to the mission to die, 5 of them by suicide. Now, when it comes to getting help, there are resources available for Texas National Guard service members.
But those who come up missing are mostly children.
Homeland Security investigations confirm most of the kids were classified as runaways, like the two 15-year-old girls who went missing from North Texas last month, who were believed to have been trafficked.
That term runaway is almost gives fault to the child, right? Like it's their fault for running away. But what we have found in our line of work is that those children are running away from something.
Some in this operation were trafficked, some sexually and or physically abused, others were exploited.
What is child exploitation?
It can be financial, it can be sending inappropriate photos, or even production of, some horrific things.
Operation Lost Souls found dozens, but they say education and awareness can keep this from happening. Until then,
there's still kids out there that are missing, and just because the operation's over, that doesn't mean that we're going to stop looking for them.
Now, there was this video that came up, and this guy was recording a plane that arrived to New York from Texas. And supposedly in this plane, all these girls were coming out. Supposedly, these are all underage girls that's being transported on this bus to their sponsors, whatever those are.
At Orange County Airport in Montgomery, New York, Ace Airways has just delivered another load of undocumented illegal aliens to our area, and there's a bus waiting outside for them that will take them to who knows where. And this is the bus. They unloaded all kinds of luggage looked like it was issued, black canvas bags. I can't imagine that everybody happened to purchase the same bag.
And then this bus gets pulled over by the police and was suspected of sex trafficking, or so they say. Now, this possibly has been going on for a while, and we know this kind of evil exists within a hierarchy, and it could also stem from international to local and underground. Now, another thing I want to point out, and it may tie into this and into a bigger agenda, Gavin Newsom, the California governor, has signed a bill last week to being a sanctuary state for child exploitation. Now, this bill will make the state sanctuary for gender-confused children who want to transition medically without the knowledge or consent of their parents. It is a law that undermines parental rights and puts at risk the mental and physical well-being of vulnerable children who are too young to see past the immediate consequences of their decisions. The law also effectively strips parents of custody by empowering California courts to take over temporary emergency jurisdiction of children who travel to the state seeking sex change treatments. Parents can do absolutely nothing to stop this. In fact, if they do try to protest the state's kidnapping of their child, California officials will almost certainly work to make sure that the loss of custody becomes permanent. Now, that is very shocking.
The fact that there is no age, basically. The age can be determined by a panel of people or some scientific data that's out there. But let's just really boil it down here. This is about if you have a situation where you have one parent, say they're split up and they have a child and one parent's for it and the other's against it, the state now will be in the middle of that decision between those parents. And I think that's a very unfortunate situation that this bill would put those two parents in and the child at the same time. As a father of 3 children, this bill is basically putting the state in your home. And we've heard so much about how, what is the age appropriate for imprisoning somebody or letting somebody out, or and there was a bill just recently about last year about a 25-year-old really didn't know what they were doing, so they should be let out of prison for their younger crimes. And how does that relate to this bill? This relates to this bill because there is no age. Apparently, there's no age that you can do gender-affirming treatments on a child where the parents may disagree on that. So I just think that it's time for California to, get out of the way of parents and let them work with their children. And look, if they're an adult, let them make the decision. I have no problem with that. If they want to make that decision with an adult, but as we've heard, and those of us who have raised children, they really don't know what their identity is. It may change many times in their youth. All of us probably went through that ourselves. I know certainly I did, in trying to figure out what my values were going to be and what the future looked like for me. And it changed many times, and it will in my children's lives. And as a parent, I want to come alongside them. I don't want to be divided up by split homes or the government deciding who's going to do what with my child. So for those reasons, I oppose SB 107.
Now, they also like to point fingers at foot soldiers and other small fish, but don't like to see who is really running the show.
Here you can see FBI agents and other law enforcement at the scene. Our crews capturing this video of a medical examiner's vehicle entering the station. U.S. Customs and Border Protection sending a statement that reads in part, quote, "One person in custody was shot and transported to a local hospital for evaluation and treatment." Shortly after the CBP statement, the FBI confirming the person had died. People who live next to the Border Patrol station trying to figure out what happened.
It's surprising. But then again, I don't know. We don't know what the issue is. If they have a detainee in there or somebody broke loose.
Law enforcement, no. It's mostly just Border Patrol coming in and out, just mostly Border Patrol. But today there was a lot of police, so I was wondering what was going on.
The Border Network for Human Rights says they will be closely monitoring the investigation, saying they will, quote, "be in contact with the U.S. immigration authorities involved, as well as the families of the victims."
So I found this other headline that says, from inside the U.S.'s most secure prison, El Chapo is pointing fingers at what he says are the real powers in the drug trade. which are from both sides of the border, which involves presidents, high-ranking military, law enforcement, and politicians.
Do you believe the border is secure?
Well, I believe that we have to have a secure border.
250,000 unaccompanied migrant children arrived at the border since President Biden took office. Some of them trafficked, some of them drowning in the river. Any issue with that?
You gotta get the votes, man. You can shoot me a note right there.
Last question. Ma'am, is the border secure? Do you agree with the administration that the border is secure? We'll let you go. Chairman, one question. In your opinion, is the border secure?
I have to go give a speech. Didn't you hear me?
I heard you.
Okay.
It's a quick question. Is the border secure? I'm Bill Malugin with Fox News. Do you have a few moments to talk about the border real quick?
I'm sorry, I don't.
A few moments of your time is all we're asking for, and we'll let you go. Reached out to your office, asked to talk to you last week. They blew us off.
I appreciate it.
It's 900,000 gotaways.
Have a good day. Thank you.
And I don't see many talking about this, but they are talking about the immigrants, trafficking, and pointing to the cartels, like in this video. But they don't really want to show or reveal who is really running it all. So people really need to see things for what they are.
Congressman, why don't we go after the cartels? We're told that this year, it's a $13 billion business, a large criminal organization which is killing Americans. Why don't we know the names, publish the names of the cartel leaders? Why don't we go after the leaders? Why don't we indict them? Why don't we do something about them?
Yeah, Stuart, well, that's sensible business talk, but we don't have any of that kind of common sense in Washington. I introduced legislation 2 years ago to designate these cartels as terrorist organizations. Governor Abbott, to his great credit, leading. Governor DeSantis leading, while congressional Republicans, by the way, have their head in the sand while this administration destroys Texas and is at war with the people. Governor Abbott led by declaring these cartels as terrorist organizations. We should go after them. We should knock the knees out from under them. That would empower us rather than cartels. It would help us develop a strong Western Hemisphere and kick China's butt. But this administration refuses to do it, and Congress needs to actually use the Article 1 power of the purse to force them to their knees and do what the American people demand, which is secure the border, stop the nonsense with the FBI and the IRS, stop destroying our energy sector, stop driving up inflation. Let's actually use our tools in Congress to check this out-of-control executive branch.
I wanted to highlight this all because I thought it was very important to do so. There's a lot going on, so I will continue to get some work done, get the information out there, because I believe we should just be aware of our surroundings. Most importantly, stick to the Word of God. Hold on to your faith, because this is a spiritual battle, alright? So with that being said, have faith, remain vigilant, and God bless you all.